My name is Sandy Bodmer-Turner. I'm the citizen, one of the two citizen representatives on the MBTA task force. With me are Chris Olney, the chair of the task force, Gar Morse, the vice chair, and Sue Philbrick, who is also representing the planning board. And we're here today because in 2021, the Massachusetts legislature passed and Governor Charlie Baker signed a law to require MBTA communities, of which there are 177, to adopt zoning that would allow for more multifamily housing. So, and the process has kind of ground on, and there are a lot of misconceptions out there about what is multifamily housing. And the purpose of this video and the purpose of the density walk is to show you what the density required by the law, which is 15 units per acre in a multifamily unit. Multifamily unit being 3 living units, 3 apartments, 3 condos, or more. What it looks like here in Manchester. A lot of people think about multifamily as some big, slab of a building. Well, that's not how it is here. And the purpose of this walk is to let you see different ages of buildings, different densities, and we hope you'll enjoy this walk with a cup of cocoa at home with a blanket. It's February 2nd. Anyway, the first building we want to show you, and that's the first building on the density walk, is buildings that were built in the 1800s, in 1800 exactly actually, and that represent pretty nearly exactly the 15 units per acre. So come on, let's go take a look. Right next to Town Hall, actually, and First Parish Church.
And the library.
Right behind the library, yes. We're at 4 and 6 Church Street. And if you come over to the entrance, this is the density that is required by the law. In each of these buildings, each one was built in 1800. There are 3 apartments. And that you'll see from the density walk handout, the diagrams, that's exactly the density. Each one is on 15% of an acre, and that's exactly the density that the law requires. So this is Manchester's multifamily housing. Now let's go on to the next. So in Manchester, part of the charm of the town is that it has buildings from all eras. And I have some more stories to tell you later on. The oldest building on the walk. But let's go on to a more modern building at 21 Pine Street next.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're standing now, which is 21 Pine Street. We just took a panoramic shot of the composition of the property. This was built in 1988, so fairly recently, and certainly many, many years after the last property that we just described. This particular property is composed of 11 single-family condominium homes. They're each 3 stories tall. How many acres? It's 0.92 acres. What is the density? 11.95 units per acre. So almost 15 units per acre. Is there parking? There certainly is. There's spaces for each home within the footprint of the property. We talked casually with one of the property owners when we did our first density walk, and she said that residents almost never park on the street. Everything is contained within the footprint of the property, and as you're walking down Pine Street, past the entrance, it doesn't catch your eye. It doesn't stand now. But it's completely different from the historical property that we just described a few minutes ago. Both represent the historic character of Manchester. Both represent styles that we'd like to preserve. I think now, one other thing I should add is that the statute requires that a certain number of acres lie within a half mile of the MBTA station. Both of these properties are within that zone.
So welcome to Sawmill Circle. This is a group of houses built around a cul-de-sac. There are 12 units here on 1.26 acres. So it's not as dense as the other properties we looked at, but it's fairly dense. And if each of these were duplexes instead of individual houses, it would be plenty dense. And the houses are certainly big enough for 2 apartments. So this is another good example of a multifamily property very near the downtown, within a half mile of the train station. And this is the kind of project we could see happen in other parts of the town as well. I've also been asked to point out a couple of other things. This property was built in 2016, and parking is available. You can see the garages. Each unit has its own garage, so there's parking not only off-site, but undercover. And people might wonder what was here before. Well, there weren't any houses here. This was a junkyard and tow company's space, which has been replaced with really nice looking residential units.
Now we're standing in front of 1 to 3 Powder House Lane. These are apartments. It's a very different architectural style than the last 2 buildings. This was built in 1973. And again, it's basically 3 stories. There are 29 apartments. There's studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. These are mixed income units. How many acres? 2.17. What is the density? 13.3 units per acre. Parking. All the parking is within the footprint of the property. There's a space for everyone, and they're not assigned. And is it within half mile of the train station? Yes, it is.
Okay, here we are now right at the center of town, across from the town green, at 123 School Street, 2 Union Street. So this is the yellow building in the back is the oldest property on the tour. It was built in 1725, and until 1870, the green building, there was no green building, there was just a space. So it kind of gives you a sense about how change has happened in Manchester over time. In these 2 buildings, there are 13 units. The footprint of the building is about 15%, slightly less than 15% of an acre. And the density is 92 units per acre. So the important thing to remember about the 15 units per acre requirement for the town is that it is an average taken across all MBTA zoning districts. So, for example, the things we were just looking at over at Sawmill Circle have a lower, slightly less than 10 units per acre density. But this has a density that's much higher. And when the requirement we have to meet is for an average 15 units per acre. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. So that the green building is old in itself. It was built in 1870. And it's in the process, actually, of having some of the historical elements of the building being restored. So again, this is multifamily housing in Manchester.
This was done ostensibly in 1930, although I think part of it over there was done before. But anyway, it's got 7 units, which are 1 bedrooms and I would call 1.5 bedrooms. They're very small units. And it has parking, 1 space for each unit. It also has a small commercial space down in the lower left. We call it the plaza level, actually. And so it's very successful. It's always been 100% occupied, and the tenants look out for each other. So it's a sort of a community building, and it requires a lot of maintenance because it's a very old building, and I speak from experience, being very old myself. So anyway, that's 33 Union.
What's the density, Doc?
Density on this project is 43 units per acre. This building has about 15% of an acre. It's around 6,000 square feet, I think it's the nearest. So that's 33 Union. And 50 Union Street, across the street from the building we just looked at. And this has 9 units with a density of 32 units per acre. So it's about double what the MBTA zoning law requires. These are condominium units. They're on 4 stories. I'm being coached by somebody, as you may figure out. And this building was built in 1920, my notes say. So this is an example of a dense construction in our downtown area. It's been here for 100 years, and it's kind of part of the fabric of our town. This is 48 to 50 Union Street.
What I would say the crown jewel of what we're talking about. This is 10 to 12 Summer Street. Right across the street is the train station. So we're hundreds we're yards away from the train stop. There are 39 units in this complex on 2.2 acres, which is about 17 units per acre. So this is a really great example of what we could be doing with the MBTA zoning. These are 3-story buildings. A part of it is a very old apartment complex that was renovated as part of this project. The rest of it was all just backyards and inappropriate uses, which have been converted into a great place to live in the downtown. This was done in 2004. It is an example of a 40B project, but this was a friendly 40B where the town acted in collaboration with a nonprofit developer to make this happen. It took years of design collaboration, but it worked out to be a great thing. And no one really in town complains about it, worries about it, thinks about it. It's just a great place to live. On Summer Street now, right at the front entrance of 10 to 12 Summer. And I'm pointing this out because this is a little cafe on the first floor. So it's an example of a mixed use that we could also encourage in the downtown with residential above and stores below.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Density Walk. I hope you enjoyed it and learned some things. Please know there are regular meetings of the task force and its many subcommittees, and we're always happy to hear from you. Also, we will be doing more of these in the next couple of months. So if you would like to actually walk around and see them yourself, please go to the town's website and you'll click on the MBTA link, and you'll see right away what events are upcoming. So join us. I hope you learned things and got a better sense about what multifamily dwellings in Manchester look like.